what do you think the code of conduct is for the NFL?
So in the NFL, we have a written code of conduct that the league provides us every year of our do's and don'ts and how to carry yourself on and off the field and the repercussions of what your actions are. And I would guess that our code of conduct is very similar to most other professions in that we are in more of a limelight than other professions, but you have to use common sense at all times and be aware of your surroundings and what you're doing.
Secondly, I know there have been people in the NFL who have disobeyed the rules and code of conduct. So how do you think the majority of NFL players feel about that, such as situations like the Colin Kaepernick situation or the Kareem Hunt situation?
So the deal with Colin and Kareem, they're kind of two separate things. What Kareem did was a terrible thing. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the video of that. And there's no place for that in football. And Colin used his platform as an NFL player to bring awareness to social causes that he believes are important. So with the Kareem one, I feel like most guys in the NFL, if not all, would say that that's not how we need to carry ourselves as professional athletes because of the world that we live in. It just gets magnified that much more when stuff like that happens. It affects all of us and gives the majority of NFL players a bad reputation. And Colin, that's a tough question because it's a situation where, just like in society, you're going to have people that are vehemently against what he did, and you're going to have also another side that support what he did. So in terms of, I don't think Colin violated a code of conduct. Maybe there was an unwritten rule, but by the letter of the law of the NFL, he didn't necessarily do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the years that you've played in the NFL, do you think the code of conduct has changed at all?
I mean, to the written one, they make tweaks every year. Commissioner Godell and everybody that works on that, they make tweaks to that every year, but as long as you stay in control of yourself, I mean, that never comes into play, because if you violate the code of conduct, that's when you get the long suspensions and all that.
Yeah, so is there anything you must do differently than regular life since you're in the NFL?
Yeah, I think being a professional football player, you are under a microscope more so, especially nowadays with social media. I have a bunch of teammates who don't even have social media, just because it gives everybody an opinion, and you can't lash back out at people if they post on your Twitter in negative terms. But you just have to be really self-aware of your surroundings and what you're doing, really.
So could you describe some of the unwritten rules of code of conduct for being part of professional sports?
I don't know if there's necessarily any unwritten rules, but it comes down to when you're on the field. I guess there are some unwritten rules that you don't do. You should play the game the right way. There's no room for cheap stuff, as in every sport, because if that happens, then it's just going to keep building up by each team, and that's when bad things happen. And then off the field, unwritten rules, I mean, it's just using common sense. You know, there's not necessarily one unwritten rule that I can think of off the top of my head, but it's using common sense, as I said before, because of the day and age that we live in.
So do you think there are any specific codes of conduct that apply to more than just football, to any other sports?
Yeah, I do. I think, I mean, I would imagine, obviously I haven't had a different job besides being a professional athlete, but I'd imagine our code of conduct is similar to any business. Ours just gets put in the limelight more so than any other company or business.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Absolutely, Nathan.